G'day and welcome to our podcast, Gen XY. I'm Danny Crouch.
I'm Malcolm Paynter.
And this is going to be hopefully our first podcast. We've had a few attempts, had a few sound check issues. So what do you want to talk about in this podcast, Mel?
Well, we've named it Gen XY. Generation X being you, Generation Y being me. And just talking about general, men's health, sport, coming at it from two different perspectives, from two different generations, which I thought would be quite an interesting spin on a podcast. I've never seen it done before.
Yeah. Sounds good. So, all right, I'll kick off an idea, and we'll probably throw a bit of strengths in there, a bit of the stuff that I use as tools for my business and whatnot. So recently I've just written a paper on substance abuse and alcohol abuse, and a little bit of a backstory, and I want to talk about it because it's a real life situation. So I work from home, do a lot of work by myself a lot of the time, and a lot of my strengths are influencing strengths. I love to talk and I love to get stuff off my chest. My partner is a teacher, so she's out all day. A lot of stuff goes on in my head and I really want to express it, so we obviously share that strength.
Absolutely.
And if I don't get it out, I start to get frustrated, and obviously with the pandemic and all that sort of stuff going on, we're feeling confined and in this space. And while doing research for this paper and studying and whatnot, I came to this massive aha moment yesterday where I found that you and I are really good friends and we love to sit down and have a chat, and part of the reason of putting this podcast together was because we like to go and have a beer and have a talk and talk about anything and everything. And what I realised that over the last couple of months, as things have closed down here on the Gold Coast, my accommodation business has gotten quiet, and I've needed to get a lot of stuff off my chest, and I wasn't doing it at home, wasn't achieving it at home. So catch up with you, and obviously we're sitting down and having a beer, and
which is all we do.
Yeah.
It's a switch off. I mean, I work on the phones as well. Well, not as well. I work on the phones, which is very, very mentally draining. And you knock off and you just want to sort of relax. And the way that I reset, the way that I mentally relax is just sitting down at the pub, having a bit of a chinwag with you, enjoying a beer, watching the sport, talking about whatever.
And not to suggest my personal situation is different, but you have work colleagues you can converse with and talk in between phone calls, and you're obviously talking to people on the phone. But what I came to realise yesterday was subconsciously what I've been doing over the last couple of months is associating when I'm talking with you, I'm getting a lot of stuff off my chest and it makes me feel better, but I'm also drinking. So what I started to associate was drinking allows me to get stuff off my chest and I feel better after having a drink. So I really looked at the last couple of months and found that I've been drinking more and more because I'm starting to associate drinking with helping me get over this stuff.
Well, almost it's not the fact that drinking helps you get it off your chest. It's when you get things off your chest, you're drinking. Which what I mean? It's exactly. In my opinion, it's the other way around. When we hang out, we catch up after work. Obviously, I've got communication as well, so I like to vocalise my ideas, my opinions, my feelings and emotions and whatnot, and we do that at the pub. So whenever we see each other, we go to the pub. So it's almost like getting that things off your chest, having a chat with your mates, whatever, is drinking.
Yes.
So it's associated one or the other. So it's like it's like you're programming your body to.
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then also at times when you're not around, I'm there by myself, and I end up, I might go and put some money in the poker machines.
Yeah.
And then I've started to associate that that's a release. So it's being counterproductive. So what I've identified is the way I get this stuff out is just by catching up with you and having a talk. I've got to disassociate drinking or gambling or whatever habit it is with solving whatever's going on inside of me, which is communication.
Yeah.
And just to explain a little bit there, communication is a word obviously everyone communicates, but people with high communication, they like to hear what's going on. They like to talk things through. So you've got these thinkers that love things rattling around in their head, and you hear that saying, think before you talk. It's actually the opposite for people with high communication. They want to talk so they can hear and then think what they're hearing.
Yeah.
So more often than not, when I'm talking to you about issues, I'm not necessarily wanting your opinion or anything.
Looking for
I'm
advice,
actually hearing what I'm saying so I can hear, does this sound stupid?
Yeah.
Because it's not that easy to sit at home and just be talking to yourself.
No, absolutely, yeah. And I think you would have been the same. I mean, all through primary school, middle school, high school, teachers always said, he talks too much. And it's not the fact that, it's almost talking for the sake of talking.
That's what it looks like to
that's
others.
that's what it looks like to others, because they might not have, communication as a strength, which is what it is. It's really, you have to hear yourself vocalizing something to almost walk yourself through it. So it's, I always got told by my mum, "Oh God, you love the sound of your own voice, don't you?" You know what I mean? No, I don't. I actually hate the sound of my own voice, but I physically have to vocalize something to help me walk through it, to help me understand something better.
Yeah,
so a verbal diarrhea, but it helps me get to the end goal. Yeah. And not everyone's like that. But exactly. I think a lot of people out there, my age and your age, they would be in a similar position. Yeah.
And it doesn't have to be alcohol. It
doesn't have to be alcohol.
That is unproductive.
Gambling, procrastinating on TikTok, YouTube. TikTok for people my age, I might just go home and switch off and just scroll through the social media for 3 hours. You're not getting anything done, but you're associating switching off and feeling a lot better after work with something that is a lot counterproductive.
Yeah.
Substance abuse, alcohol, gambling, could be anything.
Okay, so just moving on to exactly what we're talking about. So they call it alcohol use disorder. Okay, so this is part of what I was doing research. Now, what I want to go through with you is in psychology, what they use is what they call the DSM-5. It's the fifth version, but it's a diagnostic handbook, basically. So if psychologists think you've got some form of a disorder, they look and see if you meet any sort of criteria. So for everyone listening, this is really fascinating. There's 11 criteria for alcohol and substance abuse. Okay. All right, or the alcohol use disorder or substance use disorder.
So just to clarify, alcohol use disorder, is that alcoholism? Is that being addicted to alcohol?
They're trying to remove that word alcoholism.
Stigma. Right.
And once I read these, and to be classed in the alcohol use disorder, to have that criteria, you've got to meet 2 of the following 11.
2 of the 11?
Yeah. Okay. Okay.
Handing it out like candy, aren't they?
Now, it doesn't mean that you're sick or you've got a problem. It just means you fit into the category of it being a disorder. Okay. Yep. So, number 1, I've taken notes, but I'll add the words that need going in. You consume more alcohol over longer periods of time. All right.
You consume more alcohol over.
The more as time goes, the more you start drinking, and you do it more frequently over more days. You drink more into longer hours of the night, and so on and so forth. Yep. Number 2 is you have cravings.
Yep.
So the guys that
you taste a beer
can't
at
wait
3
to knock off at 5 because I can't wait for a beer.
You taste a beer at 3 o'clock, absolutely. Yeah.
You've tried to reduce your alcohol consumption in the past and failed, and you still have this desire to want to try and reduce it, but you just can't ever do that. Number 4, you spend too much time acquiring, and that's probably more towards the drugs, substance abuse. Yeah. So acquiring, going to get it. Yep. But then you spend too much time consuming alcohol, and then too much time recuperating or recovering from it. So hangovers and stuff like that.
Well, hang on, what do they actually mean by too much time consuming? How do you define that?
Well, you're spending more and more time drinking. You then have an inability to fulfill your work obligations, your home obligations, school obligations. That one, I think, is well hidden from substance abusers and alcohol abusers, if you know what I mean. Because you can generally find a way where you can, you hear these people that drink vodka all day because you can't smell it on your breath. It affects your relationships, so social, work, friends, family, all that sort of stuff.
Intimacy, family,
Yeah. Number 7, you start having less and less relationships. Yeah. 8, you use in dangerous situations. So that could be like drink driving, I suppose, and stuff like that. I don't think it means, walking on type ropes and
crossing the road when you're inebriated with drink driving.
Yeah. You keep doing it with no regard for your own physical or psychological problems. So it could create bigger problems. Number 10, your tolerance levels. So you can end up drinking more and more without, getting inebriated. And then finally, withdrawal.
Oh, so if you're 3 or 4 days without getting a beer,
the
DTs. Yeah.
So it's not really high-flying criteria to meet. They're all quite low.
Well, we live in Australia as well. So when you rattled off all of those, I mean, I think everyone would fit at least one of those criteria. Or then again, can we say that because we spend a lot of the time at the pub? So we hang out with people that...
Yeah, we see it.
Yeah, we see it all the time.
Yeah, I mean, now with all the social media stuff, you see it all the time. People getting videoed and all that sort of stuff.
How many out of the 11 do you think you met?
And I don't think I drink excessively, but obviously taking note of what I've been doing over the last month or so with all these things compounding and stuff like that, Yeah, probably 4 or 5.
I wanted to talk about this inability to work or homeschool.
Yep.
Work, home, or school. Now, this one is an interesting one, in my opinion, because if you're talking about, they removed the word alcoholic. What is it? Alcohol?
Oh, they haven't removed it. It's
Yeah.
just, it's a common term. It's quite a derogatory term.
Yeah.
And I don't think, unless you're really trying to own what you own, say, yeah, okay, I'm an alcoholic, I'm going to go to AA and stuff like that.
Yeah.
It's understanding that someone that feels the need to come home and have 2 or 3 beers at a night might meet some of this criteria. It doesn't mean they're an alcoholic. It doesn't mean they have to get pissed or drunk to fulfill whatever they're achieving. It's just, it's not whether it's right or wrong. It's just owning, this is the criteria. Yeah.
So you've got functioning and non-functioning alcoholics.
Yeah.
What I mean by that is obviously you've got people who might, deal with their problems by drinking and it still doesn't affect their work.
Yeah.
They might get up the next day, they might, have a little bit of a hangover for about an hour or 2 hours, get something in their food, and then they feel absolutely fine. Mm-hmm. And then when you cross that line of, then it starts affecting your work, then it really becomes a problem.
Yeah.
There's nothing wrong with going to the pub and having a couple of beers after work, getting up and feeling fine the next day, but it's when it starts affecting these 3 things, then, in my opinion, that's when it starts becoming a problem.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I thought that was a good topic just to start.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's very relevant as well, especially in Australia, mate. Especially in Australia.
Well, I guess too, the other thing to look at is it's that time of the year where it's footy's finals. So yes, obviously the finals are exciting, but there are also all these other teams that are now out of the competition. So whether it's AFL, soccer, league, whatever, and guess what? The headlines are back.
Mad Mondays. Kenzie's favourite day.
Yeah.
Do you know what really grinds my gears? They put the NRL Grand Final on a Sunday. It's like playing Origin midweek. Why?
Yeah.
You go out and have a few beers and watch the game. You might want to have a couple more. No, you can't. You got work on Monday.
Yeah.
Or you're going to be feeling crap on Monday. Did you reckon they do that? AFL was on Saturday, as far as I know.
Yeah. And I think they get a long weekend.
Yeah, they do.
For the grand final.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure. Well, it's on the Friday. So Friday the 24th, I think, is a public holiday in Victoria.
Well, it'll be tomorrow.
Yeah, it would be. They've got a public holiday. Well, their grand final must be on Saturday then.
Yeah. Remember, they're moving the Melbourne game to 4 o'clock because the grand final's in the evening.
NRL, move the grand final to a Saturday, please.
It ain't going to happen. It ain't going to happen.
Has it always been Sundays?
Yeah, I think so, pretty much.
Yeah.
See,
this just doesn't make sense. But Origin on Wednesdays. I get
well, you see, you got to look at it as it's always considered the blue-collar working man's game. So there were a lot of blokes that worked on Saturdays. So Sunday was footy day and stuff like that. It was really only North Sydney that played on Saturday afternoons. It was a renowned thing. Yeah, we'd go to Bear Park on a Saturday arvo.
Oh, okay. Bring back the Bears.
Yeah, they're gone. Unfortunately, gone and not forgotten because this one's a supporter.
Mate, raining, mate, Greg, me and Floro, we're working hard to get them back.
Yeah, and I'm sure he'll be listening to this.
Floro, if you're listening, how are you, mate?
Flo. You don't even know his nickname. It's Flo.
Mate, I was one when I'm right. I'm from North Sydney. I'm a Bear.
It's your birthday coming up too. You might have to get him to wish you happy birthday.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, yeah, over the 1 year anniversary of giving me a call, that was a funny conversation. Yeah. I froze. He answered. Somehow I've managed to add him on Facebook, and I thought I was sitting at the pub, I was 2 schooners down. I said, let's try and call Greg Florimo. He answered within about 3 rings, and I said, "Oh, sorry, mate, you don't know who I am. I'm Malcolm, but it's my 23rd birthday. I just wanted to say, bring back the Bears." No, he was really good about it. He said happy birthday and whatnot, and he hasn't blocked me. So
that's pretty cool. That's pretty cool. So I think part of the intention is we're going to run this through YouTube and also through the podcast channels. And then you're going to set up some socials and sort of just put little bites and pieces there. But the concept is on YouTube because it's picture. We'll probably do 2 segments, 10 minutes each.
Yep.
And then on the podcast, what we thought, because we've been trying this for the last few weeks and we're getting some content, but there's still just little bits missing. So we've thought about just taking the phones out and recording ourselves when we might be out and about having a beer. So we might just cut up a 10-minute sort of segment and throw it into the podcast as well. So if you think this sound quality is okay, you might find that when we're out and about on using our phone as a mic,
it's not going to be as good.
As good, but hey, that's technology. We'll work it out.
We've actually got some pretty good clips that we've taken so far.
Yeah, I don't know if everyone's listened to them back yet. The content might be good. It was just the delivery.
Yeah,
it was outside. It was a bit windy, so you can sort of hear the blowing around.
Someone was slurring.
Yes. But we won't name names, and it was good of him to contribute a little bit. And,
I was talking about me.
Oh, okay. Good stuff. All right, so that sounds good for segment 1. We'll look at the next one.
Cheers.
All right, welcome back. This is segment 2 of our first podcast.
Welcome back, like we're running ads.
That's where we're putting the segment of...
No, I just thought it'd be funny.
The middle segment.
Yeah.
Obviously, in the video one, we'll cut that bit out, but in the podcast, they're going to hear welcome back because they've listened to the piss talk.
Yeah, the piss talk. I hope that's good.
So we're going to alternate subjects and whatnot. So, Mal, take it away.
Mate, I wanted to have a chat with you. It is a world-renowned subject.
Thank God, we're doing a podcast then.
Everyone's been talking about it. Marijuana. Decriminalisation of the devil's lettuce. Now, personally, and especially, and I know a lot of people, I personally don't smoke it, but I know a lot of people out there who do and enjoy it. I can't see the difference between having a few beers after work, whether it be at the pub or at home, or going home and having a doobie. You know, we were talking about, you know, substance abuse and whether or not it's good or not to help people unwind. It does, okay, if you use it in controlled circumstances. And if you can have a few beers, you can have a doobie, in my opinion. If anything, it's safer.
Well, it's taking off around the world.
Absolutely, yeah.
How do you tax it? That'd be my first query, and the reasoning behind why a lot of countries don't allow it, because they want to get the tax system right so they can make a clip off it.
I think America have done that, though, haven't it? The tax revenue in Colorado, I don't back me up on this, I'm not going to say the exact figure because I don't know if it's true, but the tax rate in Colorado skyrocketed. I mean, the government were making a lot of money off it.
Yeah.
So if it's regulated safely.
They've got to get that right. Once you legalise it, then I think there'll be more, I don't know what you call them, black market guys. Because obviously the growing rights and holding rights won't be illegal. So what's stopping someone from growing it in their backyard, not paying the tax and just walking around with a bag in their pocket and selling it to someone?
See, it's interesting you do say that because it's the opposite. Prohibition creates black markets. In America in the 30s or through the 20s, when Prohibition was around, you had a lot more bootlegging, you had a lot more people making homebrew, you had a lot more people. Prohibition creates a black market.
Yeah, but I think there's going to be a black market either way.
There's going to be a black market either way, but it's when something is illegal and people want to do it, they're going to go away and do it anyway. If it's regulated, if people can buy it in a controlled space, it actually brings down the black market.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So as soon as something becomes legal, the government can regulate it, people can actually buy it. They don't have to take the risk of growing it their own. They can go out and buy it themselves.
Yeah, look, I've looked into it, getting a medicinal seller's license.
Yeah.
I think it's a fascinating market. You look at what happened in California and how it's booming and some of the online shops and stuff like that. And it's not, hey, just buy a couple of cigarettes and smoke your dope sort of thing. It's medicinal marijuana.
Yeah.
But then I sort of thought, holy crap, we live on the Gold Coast. There's a bit of an underground sort of bikey sort of setup. I would hate to cross them and find that you're stepping on their toes and taking their turf and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And there didn't seem to be too much material on how to get a license. I see it purely as a business opportunity. I don't smoke. I used to when I was about 16 at school.
Yeah, I mean, I've done it a couple of times in my teenage years, but it's not something that I personally enjoy. And they say marijuana is a gateway drug, blah, blah, blah. It's no different to alcohol.
The referendums and stuff like that, I don't think it's for social use.
What do you mean by social use?
So it's not just for the everyday weekender who just wants to have a puff and get stoned sort of thing. I think it's for medicinal use and people that have glaucoma and all these sort of things. So that's where the legalising comes in. And then, you know, where's the grey line where people will go and get their doctor and tell them they get headaches or something that allows them to get some...
Not in America. They've got... Because I know one of my...
Depends on the states.
Depends on the state, yeah. But I'm pretty... In California, I'm fairly certain because one of my mate's brothers went over there for a concert, and he's a massive bud smoker. He said you could. They're called marijuana vendors, I think. You can actually physically walk into a shop, and they've got all the different strains lined out. You don't need a. I don't think you need any sort of medical pass. And you go, well, I'll have some of that, please. Okay. And walk out of it.
Well, I suppose Amsterdam does it as well, don't you?
Have you been there? Because I know you've been in Europe. Okay.
Again, because it doesn't interest me,
yeah.
That's why you go there, so you can sit in a cafe and have a smoke.
Yeah.
It's just like,
what's the point? There's another thing as well that you told me. Portugal. They've legalised all drugs.
Yep.
It's everything. Methamphetamine, cocaine, and everything.
So the backstory behind that was Vietnam and the big heroin problem.
Yep.
And what they found was it is a very addictive drug, obviously. But when a lot of the vets went back to America, that when they returned home, and when I say home, I mean to their families, to their actual homes, because they were in such a strong family network, that addiction sort of died off. The vets that, and these are guys that were addicted in Vietnam, the ones that went home to their country but didn't have a home to go back to, or they were out ostracised and told,
it's just going to get
peace,
worse.
not war, blah, blah, they got worse. So what they realised in Portugal was, if you can provide a supportive family-type network to junkies, they're more likely to break the habit. So by legalising it, and finding these addicts, and rather than throwing them out on the street or putting them in jail, they would put them into communities with very supportive family sort of structures.
Family structures with other addicts with the drugs?
Not necessarily. It could just be, it's almost like, from my understanding, it was like a foster caring system.
Right.
So you might have a healthy family, and you take one of these people in and you feed them and you make sure they're
It's like a billet system. So
possibly, yeah.
Right,
yeah.
okay. And
I can't imagine how else it would work.
Yeah.
If you don't have a family and you're a drug addict, does that mean you've got no family, therefore it doesn't work?
So
there must be some form of recuperation sort of setup.
Yeah. So they actually, so let's say, hypothetically, let's say Ben is addicted to heroin in Portugal. They put him in one of these communities, whether it's a family or whatever the setup is.
Could be a medical centre.
Could be a medical centre, whatever. They put him in a safe environment, and they actually supply Ben with heroin.
I'm not 100% sure on the degree of that.
Yeah.
I think when they say legalise it, it's probably more so definitely you don't go to jail.
Yeah,
right?
okay.
It's you're going through some recuperation process. So it might not be you can just walk down the street and buy it over the counter somewhere, but there's some sort of way, and obviously the media are going to publicise it the way that they inflames it and makes it sound a lot better.
Yeah.
But to some degree, every drug has been legalised and they've found a way. And it's actually reduced...
That's what I was going to ask you.
...consumption rates massively.
Really?
Massively. Yeah.
So it's actually reduced... Well, right there, that tells you, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Prohibition doesn't work.
Yeah. But you've got to have the right infrastructure.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, you can't just give junkies drugs and let them run wild in the street, because that's got to be horrible. But...
No, I mean the infrastructure. So yeah, we're going to give them the families, but the families aren't really there.
You got to provide.
They're only in it to make some money because the government give them a kickback for taking someone in. I'll take 10 of them in and just lock them in a room in the back of the house, sort of thing.
Yeah.
The infrastructure's got to be there where, if it is a family situation, they're interviewed and you can understand why they're doing it and all this sort of stuff.
That's such an interesting concept.
Yeah.
With the right infrastructure, with the right support, make it legal.
Yeah. Well, it fascinates me with some of those countries in Europe how they do things differently. So whether it's Norway or I think it's Finland, actually, they've got the best education system in the world.
Finland, yeah.
And one of those sort of stories we tell from a strengths perspective is, if you can imagine, and my partner's a teacher and I do a bit of teaching and I know plenty of teachers, you've got these students that are super smart up here, and then you've got the below average students that are really struggling. What the intention of the education system in Australia is to try and mediate everyone, so everyone's being taught on the same level. Now that doesn't mean they're trying to drag the smart kids down. It's just naturally how it is, because these kids are so smart. They're ahead of the game than to the average kids. So the average kids get the most sort of attention because that's that barrier that people want to work on. So the strong kids are getting weaker and the weaker kids might get slightly stronger, but it's that mediocre. Where Finland, it's a whole new system and a whole new setup. Brilliant, absolutely brilliant system.
I know with me coming through high school, they had, obviously you had your set class, which was about 25 to 32 classmates in that class. And you do, your normal subjects and whatnot, but you also, then you broke up and you had, specialist math classes. Where I went to school in New Zealand, where you have intermediate, which is year 7 and year 8. So it's basically middle school. You're just starting to hit puberty, so 11, 12, 13, somewhere around there. And they used to break, because we had 3 classrooms, they used to break them up into, A grade math, B grade math, and C grade math. So they were the same. So they actually put you in with people of your own ability, as opposed to, having, a math whiz and, someone who's not very good at math at all. Obviously, you're going to struggle to be able to teach them properly. So is that sort of something similar that they're doing in Finland as well? Is that what you mean?
I think it's better than that.
Yeah, okay.
I can't remember the exact details.
Yeah.
But even in that system there, in your bright class, you're still going to have the top of the class and the bottom of the class. So there's still going to be that range.
Yes,
it won't be as finite.
Yeah. And so they're also the happiest country in the world as well, Finland.
Yeah. But they don't do homework.
Really?
They don't believe in it. It's you learn at school and you do it within that time frame. It's like jobs, and you hear these people that do 80, 90 hours a week. And then there are other employers that say, this is your job, I'm hiring you to do this job between 8:30 and 5. If you can't do it in that time, then maybe you're not good enough to be doing the job. So 5 o'clock comes, you should not be here, go. You've got a family, they understand well-being, they understand doing things outside of life. I remember I was at a talk once, and there were a couple of uni lecturers, and they were talking about entrepreneurialism and starting your own business. And there were a bunch of more so young adults, 18 to sort of 25. And they were saying, right, you want to get to the point where you're thinking, breathing, living every minute of your day to whatever it is you want to apply yourself to. And it just made me cringe because you get burnout. You go through, if you wake up at 6 and you go to bed at 11 and all you do is your job, you've got no life and it flies by.
I have seen a lot of salesman influencers and media influencers that just say do everything times 10. As soon as you wake up, think about how you can be generating more income and do it all day until you go to bed. And that's not sustainable.
No,
not for the regular person. I mean, you might be this deity that can do that, but it's not sustainable for the regular person. You're just going to burn out. You're going to start hating your life. You're going to start becoming depressed because you don't have that switch off. You don't have that. Feed to bring yourself back to level keel. Yeah, you'll just implode.
Yeah.
And you'll just start turning to substance abuse. do you know what I mean though? Because all you're doing is this, and then you just implode, hit the bottle or the drugs or whatever, and it's just gonna. And
at some stage in your life, you'll stand there and turn around and look back and go, "What have I done? What have I done with my life?"
You may ask yourself, "How did I get here?"
I don't know that song.
Talking Heads. Where the days go. Okay, that was
this is not a singing podcast. This is talking only.
Oh.
You don't like it? Go to karaoke.
Well, that's another topic. I think that was easy to listen to, intriguing to listen to.
Yeah. Without a couple of beers under our belt, maybe this isn't as exciting as it could be, but...
I think it's flowing a lot better.
Yeah, I like it. Yeah. But look, if you're listening, you'll be able to find us. We'll set up an email address. You'll find us on socials.
Yeah, so I'll set us up an Instagram account. I might start a TikTok account as well. Probably won't use Facebook for the time being. No. I'd say in the next podcast we'll put them all in there.
Yeah. You can put the link to the YouTube clip into Facebook and just post that.
Yeah.
That's where people might find it.
Yeah.
But look, we're open to ideas and suggestions. So if you want to sort of send us a message or like or share or whatever. But if you've got any topics or things you want to talk about, like we listen to a lot of other podcasts and we get ideas from them. So the whole concept of this is to take what we've got to say out to the people.
Yeah. Well, we like talking.
Yeah.
Communication.
I like the sound of your voice.
I hate the sound of my voice. People aren't
the sort of thing I deal with. I give him a compliment, and does he give me one back? No. All he does is talk about his own
People aren't going to listen to our podcast because of the sound of my own voice.
You reckon?
Yeah.
They'll just mute yours and listen to mine.
It doesn't work like that, unfortunately. You've got a nice shiny head. There you go.
Oh, jeez, that's a compliment, isn't it? All right, you notice I'm not going to say anything about that head. And for those of you listening, be very thankful you don't have to look at it either.
Anyway, this is Gen XY.
Is it?
Yeah.
Awesome.
It's better than Lego.
It's better than Lego.
It's better than Lego.
Alrighty, bye for now. See ya.